children live what they learn, and you can learn by examples. Because I've never seen my father smoke. I've never seen my father drunk or anything like that. So
Right.
I don't have that example around me.
Well, you said the
You know what I mean?
accountability is a very it's vital. People they need to, if you, even if you don't want to stay in the relationship, the child has nothing to do with that. You still have to make sure that your presence is there. So we're not forcing anybody to stay together or whatever if they don't want to stay together. But at the same time, you have to be accountable for
What you
that
did.
person that you brought into the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the figures are in Jamaica, the numbers are in terms of that. So but because I don't know if men are just getting women pregnant in mass and leaving them.
That is
I
a
don't know.
known thing.
I don't know about that.
Of course.
I'd have to see the figures with that.
Yeah.
The society the standards have fallen.
Yeah.
Because when I used to
And
come,
one world
culture. When I used to go home, if I did anything wrong, somebody could see me on the street and correct me.
Yeah.
And say, listen, don't do that. Right?
No, a mother said, don't touch my kid.
No, you can't do that anymore. Right? So we have to know what we are willing to sacrifice. Extremities. So the human condition that I've noticed is that when things happen in an extreme way, so say for example, people have been tortured for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We try to overcompensate for it. And that usually puts us into problems.
When I look at the whole big picture where crime is concerned back home, I think they need to have an ID system. This is not in chronological order, but I think that they need to go for the kids, the youths, go for them, right? Go for them and save them. They need to go for them and save them. I think they need to have an ID system, and I think that the ID system must be linked into a database. I think we should start move towards now where we have an address system. Every street and corner need to have an address.
Right.
So I know exactly where you live. And your ID is matched to your address. I think we have to go there. And as I said, this is not a 1 or 2 year or 3 year or 5 year process. But, if you want to protect our beautiful, beautiful country. Okay guys, welcome back to this channel. And today we have a fascinating discussion. And guess what? We are live in studio together on Things to Say with Kev and Dre. Paizo, say hi to the camera.
Yes, I have long awaited this, and I'm kind of speechless,
Yeah?
But I'm gonna have to find some words because that's the purpose of this video now. We've been looking forward to really being here physically, and now that we can do this, we're gonna see what can come out of this discussion that we have today.
Absolutely, 100%. So please remember to like, share, comment, and definitely subscribe on this channel. Okay, so what we want to discuss this evening is we want to come up with an amicable solution where the crime is plaguing our beautiful island of Jamaica. And we know statistically, several years, 1,000 murders, 1,000 murders, 1,000 murders. Compared to the latter part of the world, where we have millions of people, 1,000 murders per year may not be enough or sound enough. But for us, that's a lot, Andre. So today, we're going to brainstorm and invited us to comment into the comment section their views on this problem. So, all right, what do you think?
Yes, as you know, this is something we have been discussing at length, and
At length.
one of the things that I have noticed, and you as well, that it's with the youths, and this will be a big part of the discussion in terms of some of the things that possibly can help, to reduce the likelihood that they'll fall into this cycle of thinking that there is no other way than to lead a life of crime.
Yeah, because you see, we always hear this saying, the youths are the future, and we don't really want to make it sound as a cliche because they are really the future. So, the purpose of this conversation, as I said, is to come up with amicable solution, or we enjoin all of you into the discussion of having this really, really important matter. One of the things that myself and Andre always talk about is the role of the military, because both ourselves are members that served in the military. But in previous discussion, we look at the military alone couldn't withstand all of those thousands and thousands of young men leaving school to join the military. So we think that the government should step in, from the fire services, the even nurses, teachers, and which one as well? We have the fire, the police,
And corrections.
corrections. Okay, which
So-
is a broader aspect of,
Right.
of public sector. So the youth them can filter into those organizations where one organization, a la police force or the military, is burdened with thousands, because we have to get them into a system, and nothing works better than a system. There's nothing that works better than a system. The reason why KFC is so successful, because they run off a system. If you want to go Manchester City, very good system, but that's a discussion for another day. But
Yes.
we need a system for these young men so that they can be enrolled in, guided, and speak them out into society. We are not saying it's going to 100% rid the problem, but over time to time, we'll see tangible results. What you say?
Yeah, one of the you said a lot of things, and one of the things that's resonating with me now is that we don't have, or we will never have, like a 100% proof plan
No.
or suggestion to remediate these kind of issues. But once we get the discussion going, and that's why we're inviting you to comment, start the conversation, because this is how change starts. Some of the times you have to ask questions, you have to bring up these topics so that people can know that we're trying to find solutions and we can put our heads together and get it right. Now, one of the things that you have to bear in mind is that as a third world country, we still have first world problems. That is Jamaica.
Which is crime.
And the issue is that because it's a first world problem, we are limited in resources. And you mentioned that, it can't be just the military. In countries like Israel, everybody has to enlist in the army. All males have to enlist
But
in
they
the
still
army.
have problems.
They still have problems. But we don't have that kind of resource to do that. So we have to branch it out, as you said, to the different services.
Yeah, correctional office,
Right.
teachers,
No.
stuff like that.
One of the things that cause the question that you have to ask then is how did we get here? What would you what kind of answer would you give if we ask, how did we get here as a country? Especially with the youths now looking to crime as the go-to solution. How did we get here? What would you tell someone if they ask you that question?
That's a very broad question, but because one would have to think about lack of education, because education is really the key, and we're not really talking about academics here on a whole, but the education as it relates, like, why would I want to do this? Because I saw my friend got 20, 30 years. Why would I want to travel down that road? You know what I mean? So one would have to look, is it influence? do they feel like they're more respected in society? Because you live in you live in a country where unfortunately dons have more respect than a teacher in the same community. So you have to get them to, that's why our conversation is so important, because if you grab them from they're in high school and pave out that pathway for them, for them to follow through. You get out of high school, you enlist into the military, and we're going to have supporting systems around to support your growth and development for 6 years, whether it's a correctional service, become a nurse, because male needs to become a nurse, by the way. It's not a woman job.
Right.
I don't know where that came from, but it fosters itself all over our beautiful island that is so dominated by female. You male.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that over a 6 year period, when they would have finished, and this is something that the government has to do, they have to come in and take full control of this, because they're the government. They can implement all the system. But I still want to answer your question. Where does all of that come from? You live into a society where if you're a don, you get all the girls, you get all the respect and stuff like that. You wear nice clothes, you drive flashy cars, and you live a life where everybody respect you. So, because we know that influence is very subtle. Right. So because Andre do it, I'm going to do it. But what I can't get to unlock is, why would I want to do that if I saw my friend got 30 years?
Well, you're touching on some very, some points there that I really want to speak on. You mentioned that people no longer respect people who do the decent jobs and so on. And I am fortunate, I think you as well. We've been fortunate to see the entire paradigm shifts. Because I remember coming up as a child when I was in school. We used to have this poem about a policeman, and it was in such that poem. I don't remember the words of the poem, but what I remember how it felt. It was just admiration, description of the buttons on the policeman's uniform and how he kept himself and all of that, right? And whenever someone came from police or military to do a speech or so, the whole school would be like so enthusiastic about it.
You want to be a cop.
And I also remember later on in life when I was working as a manager, and the one of the workers on my shift was saying to me that, listen, Mr. Pizer, this not working. I go dial, because at that time the scamming was called dialing.
Oh, gotcha.
And he was so coming to your point as to why somebody would want to, seeing somebody getting locked up would want to go into that. So he said that he's going to dial, and he left, he resigned. And I remember he, like about a month after, because I'm a manager, but I don't have a car at that time, right? And he drove up close to me, Mr. Pizer, because he wanted me to see his success, right? So he's flexing, but and the car, the shiny rims, everything was there, and he was like showing me, see, I did it, right? So how life is set up is that wherever the resources are, that's where people are going to go. And these kids nowadays, they're looking at what makes sense. If you are teaching somebody that education is the key, right? But it's not giving you the things that people respect, then they're not going to go for that. they're going to go where the respect is, to their own peril. Because if you look from back in ancient days, people used to do terrible things to get those same resources, right? People used to fight, run into to each other with swords and do all sorts of things that, you know, would be like a big crime now, just to get to the resources. So it's the same instinct, the same mentality, you know, especially the males, because why we say especially the males, they are the ones mostly involved in the crime and so on,
Without
right?
a doubt.
So it's not that they are stupid to do something that's very risky, it's because that's where the respect is, because for males, respect is everything, right? So even if it's going to cost somebody their lives.
So what I'm hearing is that they're living for now, because remember, you know, they know the end of that road, you know, because there's a blueprint at the end of that road. You're going to do prison, or you're going to die. That possibility is very, very high.
Right.
So what I'm hearing, what you're saying, they're living for now. You know what I mean? We don't have time to think about John Tom did get 30 years. And they're not thinking about that.
No.
They're thinking about now, the next meal. You know what I mean? Which brings me to the next point, because some of these people are very influenced by music. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they see all these examples around them, and they're being influenced by the music. Why not go do that? Why not go do that? Because you live in a time where you can sing about scamming.
Right. Well, I'm kind of on the fence with that one somewhat. I think that the main thing that you need to have is solid
I'm
background.
I'm not saying that the music is the one to be blamed for crime, you know.
Right.
I think the system should be blamed for crime, because because as a leader you have to have vision.
Right.
And come on, man, for years upon years, this crime has been plaguing, and it's not a lot of kids is doing madness, you know. It's not a lot of men doing. I think it's probably about 5 to 10,000.
Right.
That is responsible for this 1,000 murders annually. I think it's about 5 to 10,000. It's not a lot of people, you know. So it's either but you if you cannot save them, you have to save the ones that are coming. That are 10, 12, 11 years old.
As I posited earlier,
you know what I mean?
As I said earlier, is that Jamaica is facing first world problems.
Yeah.
And as you notice with the advent of internet, it's a one world culture now, right? So the standards, everything has changed, right? Where you have a lot of degeneracy going on right now. And the country as it is now is not equipped. We don't have the facilities, we don't have the resources to deal with that. Here in America.
But that's not that's not an answer, you
know. No.
You are the government, you know.
So I'm leading.
That's why you are elected. You know what I mean? You not having an answer is not a solution.
We're leading up to a point I'm getting there to the government.
Yeah.
But so just to show you what the situation is. So the society has gotten to a lower standard now, right? And that is going to be reflected in all areas of society, including the government. So you're going to have lower standards in everything, right? You're going to have, while there has always been greed and so on in government, it's going to be even worse now, right? Because the morals and everything has been like reduced in terms of quality. Now, while the government's responsibility, this is my take on the government's responsibility. The government's responsibility is to create an environment that puts people in the best position to survive.
To win.
In Jamaica,
not to survive, to win.
In Jamaica, it is very hard to survive following the rules, right? So now put a child in from like the ghetto, right? Even if he's abiding by the law, a lot of them die by a certain time the same way. So you have to look at it from that perspective as well, because if he's gonna look and say, well, you know, me see this man go to school and by him reach 17, he may not get shot, stray bullet, or police lock him up because I did Zozo or whatsoever, right? And him could have do scamming same way. He go this say, alright, you know what? Might as well me scam because me not get no job because me come from this area. You know? So there are a lot of variables to consider, you know. And it is not to say that we should just drop our hands. This is why the whole argument of bringing them into an institution now that's going to reduce the probability of them being in that position.
Okay, so are you saying that because so that means illegal activity then become a lifestyle?
Yes,
Because
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Because it's not like they do it and come out in year 2.
No,
they do it for 5, 10, 15 years.
yes, it's a lifestyle. It's not ending. And they have that expectation of dying. They don't. It's not like they're doing it and worried about. You know, back in the day when somebody will be doing something, they do it to get to something, and then that's it. They know that this is my lifespan. Alright, I'm not gonna live until past 30 or past 35 or whatever the age is, right? So they are doing their thing, and whatever happens, happens. I have when I used to be in law enforcement, I remember we arrested somebody that had some, stuff that was related to scamming, right? You know what he said to us while we were on the way to the station?
What?
We need to hurry up and process him because he needs to get back out there to do some more.
Really?
And situations like that you don't forget. Because we're like, wow. Just wow. If I got locked up, I would be so worried about what's going to happen.
What do you mean by hurry up and processed?
Because
the audience need to know.
Yes, so there is a processing system. When you take the prisoners in, you have to book them, you have to take their stuff, you have to, put down all of their information, read them the rights, everything.
So what would make him come back on the street?
So they'd get bail. Depending on the offense, if it's something like a misdemeanor, they might be able to get bail. Or certain things up to a certain rank, you can bail them, like a corporal or so could bail them, or a sergeant. But if it's like a major crime, they wouldn't be able to get bail like that. They'd have to go into court first. So he knows the process. So basically, it's not the first time that he's been in this situation. But it was my first time, apparently, to bring him in that situation.
And then you can't take a guy who is making $10 million to go do a 9 to 5. They're not going to do it.
No. So that's what I was saying earlier, that because if you look into it, I coming up as a kid, I remember teachers, I've never seen them with a car until they're almost retired. Right? These kids nowadays, they're not going to just try to do the traditional thing where you just go into a job and you work for your whole life.
There are too much examples around now.
Because it's a one world culture, coming right back to what I was saying.
The internet.
One world culture where everything that's here, it's possible there, right? But the thing is, the internet is very good because we can also show them what else is possible. And that is what I'm putting on the government now, is that we can also show them what is possible apart from living that kind of life, because there are so many other avenues that people can pursue using the resource of the internet. And that's another thing that the government can also facilitate, right? So we just have to look at these things, open the discussion so that people know that, look, this is a real problem.
But that is why, because I'm listening to you carefully, that is why I said go for them when they are very young.
Right.
So you can save them. Who gone already. You know what I mean? And they don't have long, because we see how they die fast. They're the ones that kill themselves,
Yeah.
Because they are all in rivalry with each other. Very few been get by the cops, but they kill most of their guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But back to the point though, because I hear you, but you have to go for them when they are very young.
Yes.
That's how you're going to save them, because if you bring them through the system when they are very young, mandatory, the likelihood for them to turn to crime and violence will be very, very low. Will be very, very low, because if I can take you through a system, say, okay, you're going to join the police force, you're going to join the military, you're going to join the correctional service, you're going to become a fireman, you're going to become a nurse, you're going to become a teacher, and we guide you through that process. You know what I mean? We guide you through the process and make sure you get help and understanding about NHT. You get your first property, because you're doing 6 years and you have your bachelor's degree. The likelihood for you to turn to crime, I'm not saying it's not possible.
Yes.
But we wouldn't have these crazy numbers every year.
I'm sure you've heard me say this already. It's better to work on, to act off of probability and not possibility. And so I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah.
The likelihood, when you have a certain level of understanding and education, it reduces the likelihood that you will turn to a life of crime.
I like that thing where you said probability, not possibility.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense.
It is possible to be less educated and not get involved in crime, but the likelihood is better for you to go off of that. There's something else that I wanted to say too, that is very important too, and I want to bring out this because I'm remembering another moment that was very defining. I remember back when I was in the military in Kingston, I took my car to a mechanic in one of those areas.
The Audi.
Right? And this one wasn't the Audi at that time.
Oh yeah.
So when I took the car there were some little children running around, and some of the guys in their like late 20s, 30s were there, and they saw two of the kids, two little boys, can't be older than 6 years old, right? And they were comparing the two boys, and one of them said to the other that, this one a gallus man, and the next one he used that term, like play for the other team, right? And the reason why he said that is because the child would refuse to get involved in what he asked him to do. So he said, all right, I'm gonna show you now. And I was there, just looking on, and he called both of them, and he asked the child. There was a young lady sitting there, and he told the guy to go over there and to touch her body parts, and that's a 5-year-old child. Right? And he was telling him to do this and touch that and do all of that, and the kid was doing it like he was doing something that's something that he was doing every day, and when he asked the other child started to cry, and I was so trust me, I want to say that I was almost traumatized, because I felt helpless, because it's not my place to really intervene in that, and it stayed with me to this day, So looking at a situation like that, look at some of the killings and some of the things that you see happening now. You know, whenever I see those things, I remember that day and among other days. And I know that there are a lot of these kids that are being abused and traumatized in ways that we wouldn't even imagine as parents, right? So when these people grow to adults, they won't have any empathy, right? They don't care about what is the right move to make or whatever, because they've been damaged from a tender age. What would you say to those people, like in terms of catching them from early? What do you think we can do in terms of educating people? Because I think it's because of one, certain things in our culture that's basically doesn't make sense, because no culture is perfect. You know, we have certain stereotypes and certain things in our culture that we need to really address, right? And that's one of those things, you know, not because it's a male child, it doesn't mean that you can do certain things. It's still going to traumatize them. And you know, so what would you what do you say to a child like that? You know, so say we're gonna take in some children from there like 10 and they've been going through this. What would you say to a child like that?
You know, the best way to learn French is to go to France and live. He laughed. Why am I saying that? Is because as harsh as it may sound, you gotta take them to the prison. Show them.
Right.
Show them this is where you're heading to. He's doing 30 years, he's doing 30 years. This is where you're heading to. You know what I mean? And then now, you use that as a springboard to say, okay, there's another option. Because given the cruelty and the of some of these crimes, it's unbelievable. They have to know that there is another way. They don't have to do it like, okay, he was a chopper, he's doing 30 years. This was a chopper, he's in the US doing 30 years. He's in the US now doing 30 years. You show them the reality. You show them the reality. I'm not the one that is going to, they need intervention program. Guys that are making $10 million a month don't want to even year intervene. Where you going with that?
Right.
You know what I mean? If I'm making $10 million a month as a chopper, what are you telling me about social programs for? So that's why I said them gone already.
Right.
But make we try to save the younger one and say, because.
But what age would you remember that example that I gave you, you know, was that story
at
that I gave you.
Age.
Kids were like 5 years old and 6 years old.
Okay, well I wouldn't take a 5-year-old to a prison.
So these kids when they get to, I'm imagining that we're going to do it from you're like 10, 12, we start getting them, right? 10, 12. But these kids would have been going through 5 years of trauma.
So because we also live in a technology world, we can control the algorithm of what they see on their telephones. Every flat screen TV knows our programmable televisions. We can control the algorithms of the commercials of what pop up. And it's because the mind is very impressionable when they're very young, you know. But what I'm saying is that, because the reason why a kid love want McDonald's when them see it on the road, you know, because the color just stands out, you know, and they keep on seeing the commercial played every single day on television. Right. So if you change the algorithms of what they're seeing on it, you can be better. You don't have to go to prison.
That's
stuff like that.
That's valid.
The algorithms being played on the televisions and because that's, as what you said, that's where we are right now.
That's valid. You know why?
This is where we are
because
right now.
I have seen it, you know, as I said, we are privileged to have seen, the changes with technology and influence and all of that. And the generosity that I'm talking about, I have seen where we had, the society was this way at first, where you couldn't hear like anything close to a curse word on the radio without it being banned, or you'd have to play it in the dance hall. You wouldn't hear that on the radio station. And I've seen where over time, little nippets start coming
little
in,
by little,
right? And not to knock dancehall, because I'm a big dancehall fan, but
I are.
when it comes to the media now,
Yes.
when it comes to the media, they can definitely influence society. I strongly support that. They whatever they put out there, the movies, the everything, because dancehall is one aspect. The movies has a lot. It affects people too, and what you put in the ads and so on can play a vital role in changing our mindset. The children's mindset. So if we start putting out, instead of, as I said, the wasting money on social programs, the same way how we can put out a Burger King every 5 minutes, a Burger King ad every 5 minutes on TV, you can put out ads out there about positive things, different ways how you can do this and that, encourage healthy lifestyle. Instead of encouraging promoting a hedonistic lifestyle, where people focus mostly on, just the material things. Because none of these things, yes, they can make you happy for a while. But when you get to a certain point, all right, so if every day I'm coming here and getting apples, grapes, oranges, everything that I want, every morning the same thing. You think I'm going to feel that excited by week 2?
Because look at it, most celebrities that we know of,
right,
from a long time, don't wear jewelry. They don't live flashy lifestyle. The ones that we know about.
right.
You know what I mean? You ever see Denzel Washington in a jewelry?
Well, if the ones that do wear it, because everybody has something that they love.
Yeah, man.
They have people who will do that, but they don't normally flex. That's the new word. That's the new term now. They don't really flex like that.
But you were making the point that I think you were alluding to the point that the behavior can be normalized.
You can influence, you can use that to change the mindset of the people in general. You can use social media and all of those platforms
to change it. Because the kids are the future. And as I said, about 5 to 10,000 men giving problems. But they're always springing up. But since those gone, let us try and save the kids.
But the question I want to ask you, because this question just came up in my mind,
Because, sorry, by the way, I heard I had one time on television that the algorithms in China and TikTok is science and maths.
Right.
God know what is it here.
So that's what that's what I'm getting to.
That's all you see in there. Science and maths.
Do you think that this
and is... the best way, I don't consider the best way to poison society is the poison of mind.
Yes. So my question
that I wanted to ask, gets so easy.
The question of what
I wanted to ask
is, do you think that this is by design? It's because I don't see it stopping. The government, they are smart people, right? So just as how we can sit here and analyze what's going on, I'm sure they know. Do you think it is by design and it's somewhat out of even our little government's control? What would you say about that? like in general, would you say that it's by design? Do you think it's by design in general, or are people just, this population, this
When
part
you
of
say
the
what is
population,
by design, what is
the,
by
the, the,
design?
the fact that people, you having this constant or consistent amount of people, younger people, causing majority of the crime problems. Year after year, this is definitely not. It's not something that's on a whim. This is something that has been going on, right? And even if we are going to say, all right, as I said, multiple variables, right? Because we haven't even touched the family structure and all of that, right? But what I am saying is, since we know that the government ultimately controls what is being put out to the population, the media and all of that, and they know all of these issues that we are talking about, because they're very brilliant people, right?
Yeah.
They know all of these things. I kind of get the feeling that some of these things are coming from a larger
Like they would enable it.
a larger picture, which I don't think they can really affect it,
I don't.
So
I
don't
wouldn't
know.
say it's
What-
by design.
What would you say about that?
I wouldn't say it's by design because they have kids. They have kids, so it would be, you would have to come back to a parenting thing.
So here you go. We go into the family structure.
Yeah, because you have to control what your kid do on that device. You have to control the type of music that they listen. And you can do that. You probably can't do that when you go to school, but if the phones are so smart, I dictate what type of song.
Right.
I dictate how long my son can spend on YouTube. Using my phone, I can shut it down. I can stay right here now in New York and shut down his phone.
Now I'm going to put something to you now.
Yeah, go ahead.
That is going to your powers as a parent with this technology, and with all of these influence. Your power is somewhat reduced
By
if
the
you're
outside world.
by so with your reduction in income, not like back in the day where you could still have a good structure and everything, but because of nowadays where you have so many different influences, people who in Jamaica, especially with the first world problems, the single mother or the single parent is kind of rendered powerless when it comes to making sure that their children or their child comes up in a certain way, because they have to out there hustle, right? And what is happening now? What you see happen now? Broken families. So make we talk about that, because it's like an elephant in the room.
But before you go there, we come back to the same point, because since you're saying that broken family is a thing, and it's out there, the single mothers are out there. This is why I said that when they reach a certain age, which is a very young age, the government should step in and put them in all facets of society.
Yes, agreed.
And create the program to do it. You have to make drastic move. Don't let me talk about Singapore. That made drastic move to reach where they are. That's why you appoint leader, and somebody have to be a leader, and a very fierce leader. And you know that a leader makes unpopular decision that not everyone is going to control. Because what I'm saying, if you have an influx of about say 20,000 kids coming out of a school, you have so much arm of the government that you can put them into.
What I want to know is,
you can put them into and assure them success. Because that's the key, assure them, say, the 6 years you're going to achieve this educational wise, and you're going to achieve this, your first property.
But what I'm looking at, you see, because as a manager, because they're managers essentially, or they're basically the CEO for the country, right? And if I'm wondering if the next thing I'm wondering to possible is that are they looking at it that the cost of the crime or the risk is not as high for them to place it at that priority level? You think that's what they're looking at?
Because they're still making billions
Because
and all
they're
that.
still making money either way.
Taxes and all of that stuff.
Because I'm thinking, they're probably looking at what it's going to cost to, like, the budget to get all of these programs and seriously have, a sustainable program. You get what I'm saying? Because this can't be a project, It has to be an ongoing thing.
Yes,
It has to be a program, or otherwise it's just going to be a 9-day wonder.
Yeah, and it takes time for you to see tangible results in where the crime rate is concerned. But what we do know is that this cannot continue.
Yeah.
Because you're appointed to serve the people. We do know that having 1,000 murders year upon year upon year
Not acceptable.
is not acceptable, and it's full time somebody will either PNP, JLP, MP, NP, it doesn't matter which one are the P. Them have to let people feel we are here living in America and thinking about crime in Jamaica in terms of we want to come back home one day and we are military guys and say like we don't think that it's safe to do so. Think about that.
That's so true. As you mentioned that, there's another thing that we need to address too when it comes to people like from the diaspora that want to contribute. You want to send, say for example, you take stuff and you want to send some food or books or whatever, right? And the fight and the red tape that you get, it's like, and you're trying to help your country, your fellow Jamaicans. You want to go to do things, you're being taxed and you're doing all of these things. I know people are going to say, well, it's because people have been doing this and people have been doing that. Well, people have been doing that for every other thing, and people aren't going to stop doing this and that.
True.
Right? But if you have a charitable organization and you're trying to help, you have all of the documentation and everything is legitimate. Right? That's the only red tape that they should have is that part, to make sure that, you go through, you show that you're legitimate, not money. You shouldn't be I heard about this lady that was trying to send some books to a school. Like she had she did like 10 barrels with books and pencils, everything.
Pay a lot of tax.
And she had to pay a lot of tax on it. Just like if it was somebody that's opening a business. So these are some of the things that we shoot as a nation. We shoot ourselves in the foot. And they need to pay attention to it. So that's why I'm wondering. If
it's by design.
If it's by design, or they're saying, well, what it's going to cost, it doesn't make sense. The risk is not a high priority risk for us to spend that amount of money. I don't know. I'd like to see the numbers, and I'd like to hear, from the younger youth's perspective to see where they stand.
I want to go as far as to say it's by design, because I think they have kids though. I think there's a twofold part, and one of the main part is parenting. And the fathers them that getting the ladies them pregnant and leaving them.
Right.
That's a big thing. That needs to stop, because a man's voice is very powerful in a house,
Right.
And children live what they learn, and you can learn by examples. Because I've never seen my father smoke. I've never seen my father drunk or anything like that. So I don't have that example around me.
Well, you said the accountability is a very it's vital. People they need to even if you don't want to stay in the relationship, the child has nothing to do with that. You know, you still have to make sure that your presence is there. You know, so we're not forcing anybody to stay together or whatever if they don't want to stay together. But at the same time, you have to be accountable for, you know, what that person that you brought into the world.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know what the figures are in Jamaica, the numbers are in terms of that. So but because I don't know if men are just getting women pregnant in mass and leaving them.
That is a known thing.
I don't know about that.
Of course.
I'd have to see the figures with that.
Yeah.
Right? But if that is the case, or anybody that does that, they should be held responsible. There is a system in place. You know, I've experienced that where it is provided for when it comes to child support and all of that, right? But that's not even the answer either, because you need to have that presence. The male presence is needed in the house.
Because a person can pay child support and
they're not there.
They're not there.
Right.
You can just send the money.
Right. But the thing is, when I was a kid, I saw a lot of children that didn't have like the father for one reason or another. But there were uncles, there were
and nobody turned to crime.
There was somebody
and
else.
Nobody turned to
yes,
crime.
but there was somebody else there that they could look up to. So this is what I am saying. Right, exactly. So this is what I am saying, is that the society, it comes right back to what I was saying originally, like the society has, the standards have fallen.
Yeah.
You know, because when I used to come...
One world
culture. When I used to go home, you know, if I did anything wrong, somebody could see me on the street and correct me.
Yeah.
And say, listen, don't do that. Right?
No, a mother said, don't touch my kid.
No, you can't do that anymore. Right? So we have to know what we are willing to sacrifice. You know, extremities. So the human condition that I've noticed is that when things happen in an extreme way, so say for example, people have been tortured for a couple of years. Yeah. We try to overcompensate for it. And that usually puts us into problems.
Say some more about that.
Yes.
Overcompensate.
So you know, corporal punishment with children. You know, we used to get beat with rubber from tires, and parents used to tie kids to the tree and beat them and whatever, right? People used to get abused, right? Like badly, right? However, it had its place, right? It had its place, but because of these extreme cases, right, the overcompensation that I'm referring to now is that it got to a place now, it is at a place now where you can't even tell a child the truth. Right? True. And especially for boys, you can't be nice. Yeah. If you're correcting a child with certain things, you can't do it nicely, because that's not going to give them the rise to change. They're not going to need to change. Right? If I'm saying to you, like you're getting low performance, right? And you're not performing. Say for example, you keep getting D's, or you know, you're coming to school late, and you know, and if the teacher can tell you even that simple thing, that you need to start coming to school early or on time, or you need to improve your performance. What is the issue? Right? Without the parents coming down on the school and all sorts of things, because everybody wants to... So
you're saying that the parents, them, it's like the teacher can't even talk to the kid, because the parent will revolt.
Right. Don't focus too much on that example, because that's probably
yeah.
You know, but what the point that I'm trying to get at is that the overcompensation is because of the extreme cases that people don't want to go back to. But they've forgotten the reason why that was put in place in the first place, right? It was not to maim children. Yeah. It was to show them that this is reality, because as I said, you know, males to be leaders of their family, they have to know reality, right? If you go out there and you commit a crime, they're not going to say, "Oh, you did something wrong," but go out there and stand up. No, you're going to get 10 years, 5 years, or whatever the punishment is.
Yeah,
right. That's just how it is, and that part of it is authority, right? If you violate, so they have to learn it coming up from that point. But the thing is that it was a little bit too extreme.
Yeah, it was too heavy.
Right, and that apply. I would say it's the same thing for other issues. People have gotten like overly liberal to the point where you can't even use certain words. You can't, and it's the truth.
Yeah. So we've said a lot because we want to bring the conversation, because we could go on and on and on. Like, for me, Andre, like in closing, I'll give you the final word. When I look at the whole big picture where crime is concerned back home, I think they need to have an ID system. This is not in chronological order, but I think that they need to go for the kids, the youths, go for them, right? Go for them and save them. They need to go for them and save them. I think they need to have an ID system, and I think that the ID system must be linked into a database. I think we should start move towards now where we have an address system. Every street and corner need to have an address, so I know exactly where you live, and your ID is matched to your address. I think we have to go there, and as I said, this is not a 1 or 2 year or 3 year or 5 year process, but if you want to protect our beautiful country, we have to start put stringent measures in place to mitigate, because all what I'm telling you about, it's still not going to be 100. It can never be 100%, but at least we can feel safe going out and coming in.
Yes. Yeah, my final thoughts, mindset. This is one thing I've been saying for years, that the mindset of the people, once you can get it to be more of a moral mindset, not everybody is going to be of that, but once you can maintain a certain moral standard in the society, then you'll be in a good place.
I don't cut you. When you talk about mindset, we saw Damien Crawford said he's going to use his money, constituency money, for education, and the people them say no.
Right. So it comes down to mindset. I've seen so many things. As you said, we could go on. I've seen so many things that I could have predicted that we would be at this point. Mindset is a big part of it. I think we need to hold parents are more accountable too.
Yes.
I think we need to pay more attention to what goes on in these homes. We are too relaxed when it comes to the children. Right? If a society doesn't care about the children, that speaks volumes. If they don't pay attention to what's going on with the children, I think they need to spend a lot of time on that. And then, as you said, as we have been discussing, that we have first world problems, but Jamaica, we look about it all about, we are very innovative people. I think we can come up with solutions that are not as costly for our little space to make things create a better environment for our youths.
But I also have to add this. I think it's an indictment on both parties. For years cannot solve the crime. It's an indictment on both of them.
Well, we're gonna leave with that question, because I don't know that they cannot solve the crime, and
no, I said it's an indictment on them that they are not solving the crime.
They are not.
They are not solving the crime.
I don't know that they cannot. It's just that
I think they can do it.
There are a lot of variables.
They can do it.
Right, of course. But there are a lot of variables there that we have to consider. We can do another show on that. There are a lot of variables to consider. So without being political, you know, we would have to look at those. We'd have to look at the figures.
But you see, I just think
that.
it's too much of a small country to cannot deal with 10,000 men. When you have how much thousand in the force and how much thousand in the military.
It comes back to what I was saying when I was the mindset, because you have people in the same society protecting these people. Your mother, you go out and you commit a crime, and your parents, your mother and your father come home in bloody clothes and all of that, and they don't ask you any question. And when the police come to investigate, you're the ones hiding it. So that comes down to what? Mindset. So it's as I said, there are certain things that we can attack, but we can only do so much. The government can only do so much. So the mindset of the people, it's important for them to embrace the need for this change. And that's what I'm going to finish with.
Well,
you know, this is really good.
Very good point.
I hope we can do more of this, because, you know, coming in the next videos, I'm going to be here by myself. He's gonna be back home. You know. But
you never know, I might fly come to Chicago.
Yeah, and I might fly to you as well.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, we look forward to, you know,
we can have some jerk pork out.
Yeah, we look forward to having more discussions, and, you know, just don't forget to comment and let us know what your thoughts are, because, you know, we think that this is important to start this conversation. It starts from a little corner, and then you never know who might be watching. You know, the great Andrew might be watching and say, you know, them youth kind of have a point in it, you know, make we look into that, you know. Because we know that it's not easy. You know, it's not easy to govern, right? But at the same time, people need to discuss things, because ideas can pop up out of anywhere.
Yeah, crime should be number one on anybody manifesto.
Yeah.
If you're not saying that, so when you come into power, either party, I'm not for one either. I'm into policies. I would vote for Andrew if he might do something right. I would vote for the next man.
Yes.
I'm into policies. I'm not into.
You come right back to mindset.
I'm not into a party.
Right back to mindset.
That's the next thing.
Yeah.
When a person,
we're gonna have we have another. We can start another podcast.
When a person, I have to close on this. Which one I camera?
Yeah.
This one. Jamaica, listen to me. When a man a go say him dog a labor right, so him a go vote labor right, it's one of the worst thing I've ever heard. When a man a go say him dog a PNP, so him a go vote PNP, how can you even say that and think and believe it? You have to vote for policies. That's what matter. And the number one policies we see running the place for the past till the crime starts sporadic out of control is crime. That's the number one thing, and they have failed, both of them, to solve the crime. Yeah. Okay. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's a wrap. Things to say with Kev and Dre.
See you in the next one.
We out.